Avila actually went on a podcast, the Foul Territory podcast, which I'm assuming you're aware of, hosted by one AJ Przinsky,
Yes.
to talk about what went wrong with the Tigers in his 7-year reign of terror. And it really didn't make me feel any better about the situation, about his psyche, his acumen, the way he views things. He admitted to mistakes, but I feel like he still really doesn't get it, really doesn't understand what happened to him and the organization he was running. He was going over the trades he had made, especially during the rebuilding process, where the critical moments where they traded away the biggest assets they had, to hopefully get prospects that would pan out. And his barometer of success was whether any of those prospects he traded for were actually in the major leagues at this point. And that is an incredibly low bar to set. He mentioned Reese Olson being the major asset acquired in the Daniel Norris trade, which is interesting that he actually just finally made the major leagues. He's actually looked really good this past in his two appearances. But Alex Lang, the aforementioned, being part of the Castellanos deal. The final one he mentions was getting Joey Wentz for Shane Green, which Joey Wentz might be the worst pitcher in the American League. So I don't know how you hang your head on that. He brought up the Justin Verlander trade, in which we received Franklin Perez. Ever hear of him? Who? Yeah. Daz Cameron.
Oh, yeah, Daz Cameron.
Yeah. He's no longer with the organization. And Jake Rogers, who is a backup pitcher with the Tigers.
Not bad.
He's not great. He's batting about 150 right now. That's 6 or 7 home runs, but
Mendoza.
So Al basically defended his record based on the few assets he received that are actually in the majors, and it's just a pathetic return. So it makes me think he still doesn't understand what he did and how he fucked it up. It's making me think, and this is going to kind of bleed over into football a bit, but for anyone in the state of Michigan who's a Detroit sports fan, you debate, it's never been a debate who the worst general manager in Detroit sports history was. It's Matt Millen, but I think for the pathetic Detroit Lions, but I think Al Avila is now giving a run for his money, as we've seen and are seeing what a enormous hole he has dug for the organization, and how long it's going to take, even if Scott Harris is potentially the most competent and one of the best general managers in history, it's going to take him years to dig out of the situation the Tigers are in. We are seeing that firsthand right now. I think Al is a very nice man. I don't bear him any ill will, but I don't really ever want to see or hear from him ever again, especially when his comments are so clueless and show that he just still doesn't understand what he has done to a proud organization, one that I and millions of others follow breathlessly. It has just completely run into the ground, potentially for years to come.
Was there any reaction by the AJ or anyone else on the podcast?
I didn't. I refused to listen to it. I just read the highlights and just kind of went over it. So I didn't really want to hear it. I'm sure they were more than kind. They don't have the same vitriol or interest that I do.
Or it would have been funny though if someone was. Yeah, it would have been funny if someone was like, well, I mean,
what
Jake
the fuck Rogers, are you talking about?
Yeah, Jake Rogers is batting 150 like you just did to me, and then and who was whatever that Wentz may be the worst pitcher in the AL, but okay, Al.
The idea that he's even in the major leagues right now is testimony to how bad the Tigers' rotation is,
right?
Mainly because of injury, of course, but.
True.
That's another thing you could blame in ways on Al Avila for being completely oblivious to how potential injuries can happen to the pitching staff, how a pitcher's mechanics influence the likelihood of injury down the road. And there are lots of red flags raised with Casey Mize and his delivery. Same with Michael Fulmer, who actually, both of which have now had Tommy John surgery. So, injury is impossible to predict, but there are warning signs, and it seems like Al is completely oblivious to all of them, and being oblivious to everything's, which it's just a frustrating situation. It's just it's time to for Al to turn the page, recede from public light, enjoy his retirement, enjoy his time. I believe he lives in Florida. He doesn't really have any reason to go on baseball podcasts anymore and infuriate Tigers fans like myself.
Wordhole Media.